the readiness that we maintain, the reason that how we do what we do, we have our nets that we do on a monthly basis
Yeah.
that helps test that equipment.
Yeah, so let's talk about all those requirements. What are we asking of these people to come in
Right,
and help?
right.
One is that you do have to become familiar with the equipment, and that's the purpose behind this video set, is to try and give people some video training. But I would tell you that this is limited, that we're not going to give you full feeling of warm and fuzzy about, I know everything about this radio, particularly in the HF capabilities and in the data capabilities. What we're going to give you is a little overview about how to basically turn it on, turn it off, and make it work. But really, it's up to that individual operator to take it upon themselves to learn the equipment, know how to take best advantage of it, and then understand the network that they're working in within KC Hart and how we're sharing information with each other, making sure that you know how to operate within the facility, know who the
Right.
key people are, find out where the cafeteria is. Always a first for me. I always want to know where there's food. So, and where the coffee pot is, maybe, whatever your interest is. Those are things that's important. The best way to do that is be in the facility. So one of the things we ask people to do, as you mentioned, is we have a monthly net, and we ask people to get in that facility, check out all the equipment, make sure it's all working, get on the net, talk with us, tell us if there's an issue. If it's something technical in nature, maybe we can solve it right on the air. If it's something that requires an investment from the hospital, you've been great in helping facilitate that, or at least offer to the operator who's there, here's how you best go about getting that done.
Right. And so that interface with the hospital is very important.
Key.
And we've asked, I think most of our amateur radio operators are volunteers within the facilities. That
Absolutely.
seemed to be the easiest way to get them into the facilities because, of course, they have to worry about security and protection of patient information. So having them become volunteers is kind of an easy way to do that.
Right.
And I think that in most of our facilities, that's indeed what we've done.
And most everybody that I've talked to from the volunteer side has been very impressed with how volunteers are managed in the facilities. Hospitals are used to having volunteers in most
Right.
cases. We've found a few who haven't. But they really get treated very well. They get some recognition usually at some point in the process. And the bottom line is they're made to feel welcome. And I think that's really kudo to you folks in the hospital world, to let these people come in and do their thing and hopefully see the value in what they do.
We report out every month to the hospital committee on what we've done through KC Hart. So it remains up on everybody's agenda. If there's questions, I'm always happy to answer them. Our amateur radio operators have been so great in the support that they've done. We have, as we said, probably over 100, and we could always use more.
Always. Yeah, there's a constant turnover. I mean, people get interested for a while. Maybe it's not a right fit for them from a volunteer standpoint. Sometimes they simply aren't available anymore, or they aren't
Right.
physically able to do it anymore. It's a great opportunity to volunteer if maybe you're not as physically able. I know that one of the stories that came out of Katrina was about a couple where one was physically handicapped, was in a wheelchair, the other one was blind, and so they were sight impaired. And between the two of them, they made great operators and were
did.
able to support each other. And so for somebody who might have those kinds of challenges, I think it's a great opportunity. Another great opportunity, I think, is if you're a new ham. If you don't maybe have the
Right.
funding to buy equipment yet, but you'd like to get on the air and use the equipment and understand it, here's a whole station that can belong to you to manage. They often will get in and they can go anytime. I mean, it's up to the hospital, but
Right.
lots of times, it's been my experience, they've said, hey, come anytime you want to come.
Right.
And, they'll make you a part of the team. They give you a proximity card so you can get in and out of the building. In some cases, if that's what they require, they may ask you to do a little bit of training. That's part of their
Correct.
standard volunteer process. Some don't, some do. Every site is different, I've found. But generally, nothing too onerous for the volunteers to do.
I think the last part we want to talk about are exercises.
Sure. I know that both of us do exercises in our professional world, but getting the amateur community involved in exercise, I think, is really important. The hospitals are required to do 2 exercises a
Two
year. Is that
exercises
right?
a year.
And again, that's part of your Joint Commission requirements.
Correct.
Not every time do these exercises necessitate a communications element or simulate a communications emergency, but there are some pieces of this they could do with every exercise if they so choose. The key here is to get involved with the hospital and find out
Right.
what they're doing and see if they can at least do a notification process. I know here in the metro, we have a notification system that they can utilize, but even in the outer areas that might not have that facility available to them, at least find out if you're using a calling tree, if it's simply a matter of making a phone call or having a process where they get on the local repeater and say, hey, it's time to go to the hospital and set up and get working. We need to test that.
Right.
And we need to demonstrate that capability to the hospital and show the value. But we need to be better prepared too. And so we need to learn how to do that cross-integration.
I know one of the things that we do every year is the Metropolitan Emergency Communications simulated exercise.
Right. And that's been primarily for the metropolitan facilities, but really, truly, we've tried to incorporate on a multi-state basis, trying to
have.
reach out to all of Region 7, the federal region, for participation because it is a national event, the simulated emergency test that's sponsored by the ARRL.
Right.
And we've tried to coincide with that every year.
So we've included the hospitals in that and given them their own elements to meet while
Absolutely.
we do those exercises. Again, it gets them into the facility. It's duplicating, like we talked about, EM Resource, some of those capabilities, and it shows value again to the hospital.
Absolutely. Visibility is a key thing here.
It
Again,
is.
this is kind of unsung hero stuff, but you've got to make yourself visible once in a while. And that way, when you do have to come to them and say, hey, we need $300-400 to replace a radio due to a lightning strike, they don't even think twice about the value of it. They absolutely drop the dime and go.
They do.
So it's really helpful.
So I think the KC Heart project has been extremely successful.
Great.
We're very happy with the way it's turned out. I think it's something that the rest of the country has looked at and and has been replicated in a couple of locations, including St. Louis.
Absolutely.
So I think we've shown our value. The amateur radio world and the hospitals work very well together.
That's great. And we're always happy to provide that service. We do it in a lot of other arenas. I know that in my role as an emergency manager, my amateur radio volunteers support my operation, and they dovetail right in with what's going on with the hospitals.
Right. So this has really been an overview of the operational aspects of the KC Heart project. Thank you for listening.